So before we get into today's very special episode, I just want to give a heads up. This is an interview that I appeared on the radio, a local radio station. So I did not cut out any of the radio commercials just for that little bit of nostalgia. So you do get some local radio ads in this YouTube video. However, this is not a paid, like a promotional advertisement. This was the advertisements that the radio station had been paid for, and I just didn't want to edit them out because it's a cool piece of Americana that we just really don't get anymore unless we listen to the radio. So thank you for being here with me to listen to this interview. It was really exciting, something I didn't get to cover in the interview, but I told the host privately in person, was that the night before this interview I got to cross off one of my big bucket list items and go see one of my favorite bands, actually my favorite band in concert, Modest Mouse, on the Tuesday before I did this interview, and then I got to do this interview. So a few of my bucket list big time childhood dreams coming true right now in the form of this interview and the events that occurred before I had to go to this interview. So thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoy. I hope you learn a little bit more about who I am and what I work on when I'm not creating content for you. And I hope you're having a great day. Let's dive in.
What do you have to lose? Again, 800-549-1985.
All right, everybody, hello and get ready. It's the party line.
It's the news and information you want and the hour of radio you simply can't miss. The KBOW Party Line. Today's show is brought to you by...
The Party Line is brought to you by great community-minded businesses like Community Hospital of Anaconda, the Broken Arrow Steakhouse and Supper Club, Town Pump, proud to be a business from Butte, Dugan Dolan Mortuary, Shedhorn Sports, Crazy Carol's Casino, the Continental Gardens, Janelle Morgan, your Century 21 real estate agent, Beautiful Things on Broadway, Southwest Montana Community Health Center, United Way of Butte and Anaconda, Brothers Water Treatment Services, Harrington Surgical Supply, Butte Floral Company, and Shea Realty, all joining together to bring you the Party Line. Hello, everybody. Wednesday, August 25th, and, well, not a bad day out there. A little bit of smoky haze, but 66 degrees and a light breeze. Got to be liking this. Done with the heat for a bit and staying nice and cool. Able to open the windows and cool off, and at night, you don't have to worry about that extra blanket on the bed. It's not a bad thing. Anyway, good afternoon and welcome to the Party Line as we have a split show today. Get an opportunity to visit with the author. I'm going to find out if it's a local author in a minute when we get to that. And also an opportunity to get up to date on things happening with the Butte Rescue Mission. So some good things happening on the Party Line today as we're going to start things off. And we always like to feature local artists, local musicians, local writers. And today we're looking at, if you can see that on our camera back there, what happened?
My phone died.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Did you bring a cord with you?
No. Nope, we're just radio only. That's okay.
Hey, it's, a theater of the mind.
It's true.
We'll just paint it for you. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Today we're going to be talking about Selfish Sunday. Keone?
Keone, yep, a
Did I say
Keone
that
Magnolia.
right? As I read this, I'm trying to say the names and understand them.
Mm-hmm.
So Keone Magnolia it's a novella about her and her life. And she's kind of a confused little lady. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But we have the author with us today, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So Arian, Naomi, Omid.
Yes, sir.
So that is your pen name?
That is my pen name. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you wrote this, or tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about growing up. Tell us where you're from and where life started you.
Yeah, so I'm from Bozeman, born and raised. Really stayed in the valley until I couldn't afford to anymore, and then
Imagine that, right?
Right, yeah. I don't. It's a better place to be out here for me for sure. So I breezed out to Butte, and then I've been a writer my entire life, and so it's been a whole legacy and challenge to get to this point of having this novella. It's currently available at all 3 of the new bookstores in town. So How Novel, which is going to be doing a book signing there next Saturday, and then Books and Books also uptown, and then the corner bookstore on Harrison Avenue. And so I grew up in an abusive relationship, and this story goes into the confusion of growing up with some past trauma and learning how to cope with that as an adult, and just accepting the growing process and maturing as a person.
Interesting. I was going to get to that later, but since you bring it up, because in every book, there's a little bit of the author. And when I read this book, I'm sorry, but I was reaching out to you as the writer saying, oh my God, I can't believe you suffered that. I can't believe you went through that. Because it is one of those that there's some tragedy, not a lot of happiness.
The happiness comes at the end, and that's really the whole point of the book. Is this young woman is trapped in not being certain that she's happy in her present, and so it's a kind of a science fiction-y story where she gets thrown backwards in the past to relive her sad moment so she could get to the happy point and realize how much she's grown as a person and all of that. I do have to throw a giant disclaimer that most of the story is fictitious and very few snippets of it were pulled from my life. But I found as I grew up, because when you're in an abusive relationship and then you get out of it, you feel really isolated and you don't realize how many other people have gone through similar experiences. And so as I've grown as a person and met more people throughout my community, I've found this is a really tragically human experience to get out of an abusive relationship. And so I realized it was a really important story to tell, and I took snippets of everybody's experience and I put them into this one character because it's about the collective, the fact that it's a problem, and also the fact that this one in particular, the fact that when you get out of something like that, you're not going to be okay for the first little bit, and that's okay.
But are you ever truly okay?
I would say so.
Do you?
It's been about 10 years since I was able to separate myself from my situation, and I feel like when you are able to work through it and you're willing to put that work in, it's hard to get through that self-help process of learning how to love yourself again. But I do feel like there is a point where you kind of reach the top of the mountain and you're like, okay, well, what else can I accomplish past healing from this? Like, where else can I go? This journey is over. So I do think there's a bit of hope in that healing process of being okay eventually.
And before we go further in the book, though, I got to go back.
Yes.
Because you jumped right out of who you are. And so you grew up in Bozeman. Mm-hmm. Bozeman High School, I'd imagine?
Yes.
And then what are you age-wise in your 20s?
So I'm 27.
Okay.
I graduated from Bozeman High in 2012, and that was where I ended my traditional education journey, and I just started working. I started out in a gas station, so a lot of my characters have moments where they are either in gas stations. The
pump and sip has to be that experience.
Yes, sir. Where they either breeze through or they work in it or whatever. That was the first few years of graduating high school was spent in that environment for me. And I've bounced around jobs a lot, so I've worked in gas stations, grocery stores. I worked as a doggy daycare attendant, which was a lot of fun, and just bouncing around at various 9-to-5 jobs to get those experiences. Kind of
that typical life of a youngster, you know. I mean, I cooked on a ranch for other people. I worked at a plumbing store. I worked, the different jobs you had as you were starting out in your life. Mm-hmm. But it also helped mold you. And you use some of that in the book. You talk about, as we go, that Kiani actually goes through those growths. She gets her first job at the Pump and Sip and having problems with Baxter, who's not a real nice guy.
No.
Baxter has me wanting to do a Butte Boy on him, just so you know. That's where you meet him in Smoke Alley after school,
Well, good. That is exactly
he's definitely the villain
that was supposed to be painted. And it'll be really interesting because this is
the first book in a series, but it happens at the end of Keone's tale, and so in the coming novels, it's going to go a lot more into the actual experience of it without the sci-fi twist and paranormal time travel and stuff.
That's not normal.
Nope.
Because usually you start at the beginning and take the ride through. You're starting at the end and then rewinding.
Yes. And honestly, I do a lot of non-conventional things with my writing. And I wasn't quite sure if this was going to expand past the novella. And I kind of realized that as I was writing it in the editing process and getting it ready to go to market, I was like, okay, well, this obviously there has to be more to it. Can't just be this novella. But I do a lot of weird stuff like that, where like things are out of timeline and it's that.
I'm glad you brought that up because you make a comment in the beginning of the book, and the author's note that if it's confusing, that's a good thing. Because when I read that, and then I got into the book and I said, she was right. Because, I mean, 1 minute I'm reading and then I have to flip back a page and say, wait a minute, how did I get here? And then I finally figured out the time travel aspect. And it's confusing because of the jumps and trying to catch up with the jumps and then trying to remember. And that was... I got your point because it's the butterflies fluttering are constantly jumping you to different thought processes, different days, different times, different events.
And I really wanted that, I wanted the reader to experience this as though they were in that position of, you go to sleep and then you wake up and you're in a different time. And then you get used to it and you go to sleep and then you're in a different time again. And it just having that reset of figuring out, where am I, what's going on, when am I needed that to be an immersive experience for the reader as well. And huge shout out to my beta reader team online, because they were the ones that really helped me fine tune that aspect of like, it has to be just the perfect amount of confusing for the storyline to really work the way it does.
Yeah, in some points, I think you might have been over a little bit, but because I'm like, wait a minute. And then there's other times when it's like, okay, I'm with you still.
Right.
I'm there. Okay, I figured it out. So it definitely makes you think.
Good.
You got to be, you can't just, it's not just a novel that you pick up and read and try to remember what page you're on. You've got to pay attention or you're not going to get it. So I'm going to take a time out. I want to talk a little bit about your social thing because, I mean, you came in recording, you've got a social persona, you've got a writing persona, as we called a split personality.
Yes.
And so I want to talk more about that a little bit too. So that'll help people understand who and why.
So,
but I need to take time out first. Guys got to pay the bills.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't want them firing me. 117, the KBOW party line. We are talking about the novella, The Selfish Sunday, with the writer, Naomi Omid. And we'll be talking to her more and getting more on this booklet, this novella. It's actually very thin, easy one-day read. So we'll talk more about it and the ones to come, coming up after this.
When it comes to women's health, the team at Community Hospital of Anaconda delivers. Together, Dr. Glenn McLaughlin, Dr. Andrew Bognano, and Dr. Sildy Adelano provide the region's leading women's health and surgical services. Let the Community Hospital of Anaconda be your choice for your health. To learn more about their personalized services, visit communityhospitalofanaconda.org or you can call 563-8500. The Community Hospital of Anaconda, care for a lifetime.
Great perks, good times. Join the Players Club at the Broken Arrow Steakhouse and Casino. When you join the Players Club, you'll get a chance to win the $100 drawing on Saturdays at 7 p.m., double points on Tuesdays, and always great customer service. Play a game or two of Keno or poker, and while you're in, ask about sports betting. Visit the casino in the Broken Arrow Steakhouse today on Main Street, Deer Lodge, Montana. Stop Friday or Saturday night for the prime rib.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
After a long day, you probably just want to relax. Stop by your local Town Pump and pick up a 12-pack of Cayman Jack for only $16.99. And try out the new cracked corn popcorn, 2 for $5. Town Pump, convenient and right down the road.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
A lifetime of love. You lived a lifetime of love.
In a time of personal loss, there are so many memories.
I remember the good times together.
A lifetime of good times.
In your family's sorrow, we can provide every service and option and leave you with loving memories.
A lifetime of love.
Memories of a Lifetime of Love. Dugandolan Mortuary, we care. At 1805 Meadowlark, 723-3239.
Hey, we're back. The KBOW Party Line. If you'd like to join in our conversation today and have a question for Ariana about her new book, Selfish Sunday, 406-494-7500 on the KBOW Party Line, 406-494-7500. As we continue along today on the Party Line, and again, thank you for coming into the studios. It's kind of fun. Sure. Out rocking and rolling last night, and here sitting back relaxing today.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. So is this your first published?
No. No, this is the first one that I've taken to the streets, to the public. But I have actually quite a large collection of books published. My first one was a zombie apocalypse novel by the title of Finding New Haven. And I was actually going to start working on a sequel for that book, and then the pandemic happened, and I found out that for my own personal mental health, it's not good for me to work on that kind of science fiction when people are sick and things are extreme. So I had to put that on the back burner for a little while. And then after that, there's a series of 3 books published called the Fairy Lit series, and the first book in that series is called Did You Hear About the Prinz Party, spelled Prinz, because it's a last name, and it's a collection of 3 short stories about modern-day Cinderella, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty who go to a house party, which is the modern-day ball. And so then the series expounds on, they meet and they have an extended storyline past that first one, but I don't want to give too many spoilers out. And then #Selfish Sunday was the last fiction that I released. And then in June, I had published a collection called Note to Self, which is a book of affirmations that I collected on my Instagram. Me and 5 or 6, I can't quite remember off the top of my head, other women contributed affirmations to this book. And then my independent publisher actually has split payment, so everybody gets paid. When you buy a book, you're supporting all of the authors instead of just me, which was really groovy. And then currently I'm working on a project called the Pink Candy Project, which is spelled atrociously because it is a female rapper on a fictional planet and her journey through the music industry on this fantasy planet. And everything ties in together because #Selfish Sunday and the Fairy Lit series also take place on this planet. And so there's little Easter eggs, like in #Selfish Sunday, there's a moment where she puts on a Pink Candy album, and eventually there's going to be a whole series about that character, and each book is going to have a rap album to go with it that I am writing and producing and recording.
So you do rap too?
I do rap too, yeah. That's
multi-dimensional?
Yes, sir.
There's a split personality thing.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that. I mean, you have a social presence. You do a lot online, and I know a lot of our listeners say, well, what's all this blog stuff? What's this? What's that? But you do a lot of work online. Tell us a little bit about that.
So growing up in Montana with these super huge aspirations of wanting to be a big name author, you kind of get tricked into believing that the only way of becoming successful and getting heard is by being online, even though the online space is super watered down. And so it wasn't really until I came up with the pen name Naomi Omid, which was back in 2014 or 15 that I really started coming up with the online persona thing. And so it was important to me to keep who I am when I go to the grocery store separate from who I am when I want everybody to look at me. And so I just created this character. I know you guys can't see me, but if you come down to How Novel next Saturday, I'll be wearing a white wig and makeup and look really out of place. And that's just because who I am, what my personality is I tend to call myself a cosmic fairy, like a mystical creature from outer space. And so it just helps me keep the whimsy in my work.
So the real you, shy, reserved, outgoing?
Shy. You wouldn't guess that in all of my, because I've always had customer service jobs, and I'm a really good people person, and so I'm able to start conversations with people pretty naturally, even if I don't know them. But when I go home at the end of the day, I'm a super shut-in, and I prefer to just like stay in my little rabbit hole and not really deal with the people who aren't inside my house. So this was the
almost
easiest
a recluse
way. Huh?
Almost a recluse?
Yes, yep, total typical author personality, just, total recluse, but it doesn't work when you're supposed to be out there networking and meeting people and telling people about your book. So had to find
that kind of almost fits with your character, Keani.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that mask. Because we're all so much braver when we're masked.
Mm-hmm.
We're all so much braver when we can hide behind something. Or, I mean, I don't care if it's a Halloween party or if you're out in public dressed as a character.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, someone else. It makes you braver because you can step out of who you are, and you're not, I guess, would you say, susceptible to injury?
Yeah, and it also it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's not an extension of you. You're pretending to be someone else." With the Aryan character, it's an extension of myself. The way I see it is it's my like my spiritual or cosmic form, and that's how it's like my, when Superman is at his desk job, he's Clark Kent, and then he puts on the Superman suit and he's Superman. That's more how I feel about it than like two different people, like a secret identity.
So do you ever think people see you, like you said, someone who doesn't fit in when you're dressed as Aryan? Until this year, when I moved to Butte, I haven't really had the experience of being out in the public and doing this. It was mostly just a thing where I dress up to post pictures online because that's the thing that's happening. And then I realized, well, if I want to go and talk to bookstore owners and go on the radio and stuff, I'm going to have to start being in costume out of my house. So I haven't really tried yet. I'm actually going to be networking, doing a little like guerrilla meet and greet at the farmers market next Saturday from noon to 1. And that's really where the social experiment begins, because that'll be the first time I've worn my costume out in a crowd. I'm really nervous about that, but I'm super excited to hopefully get people to come say hi. So now I'm nervous because when I see you like at the grocery store and you say, I'm like, who's that? So, now it's like, okay.
Incognito.
Yeah, there you go. She's hiding. So we get to do that in radio because they hear our voice, but they don't see us.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go I've been places where they talk about me while I'm standing there. Or something I said on the radio and they don't know. And if I don't open my mouth and start talking, they don't know it's me. So it's that same kind of concept.
Yes.
So radio lets you hide.
Good. I feel like everybody deserves that privacy. If you go to the grocery store, regardless of if one person in town knows that you write books or everybody in town and across the planet knows that you write books, I feel like everybody should have the right to go and have those private moments and be able to take care of themselves, because we're all humans, So I'm glad you get that privacy too, because it's super important to me.
Well, it's your hideaway. It's the reclusiveness that you need at times. So back to the book.
Yeah.
It takes place on a fictional planet, but the fictional planet is so much Earth.
Yes.
Right down to the name Thayer is just the jumbling of the letters.
You caught that.
And Afri, one of the major concepts countries, of course, shaped in his Africa.
Yes.
But and then you north or up. It's pretty easy to kind of put it all together.
Yes. I didn't realize that everything was on a different planet until I came up with the Pink Candy Project. Because when I got the idea given to me by the universe, somebody had written one of my books of poetry, or somebody read one of my books of poetry that I wrote and asked if I had more poems. And I actually spent a good chunk of time, like 5 to 7 years, wanting to pursue a rap career because I was in this admittedly toxic way of thinking that I wouldn't be able to get book sales, and that's not how people make their money, because you see everybody popping up and they make music and all of a sudden they're a millionaire. And so I spent a lot of time writing rap lyrics, and the years later this woman comes to me, do you have more poetry? I was like, oh no, but I have these lyrics. And it snowballed into this project of writing about a female rapper, and that's when I got like the realization that I didn't want to be competing in the same space as the actual female rappers that are around, because it's not what I'm trying to say, like I'm better at anything or anything like that. And that's when I realized it needed to be a whole completely different planet. But because everything on this fantasy planet is so relatable to the human experience, I wanted it to be completely familiar things. And so right down to the maps I printed out maps of planet Earth, and I flipped them over and I traced the back of them, because it was,
I got that, by the way.
Yes. It's really obvious, but at the same time it's like, all the brand names are made up, all the musicians, the TV, all the pop culture references are made up. And I really wanted a place that I could play around with and be like, okay, well, what if there was mermaids and fairies and goblins and these things? And there's so many books out there where the urban fantasy just is on planet Earth that I didn't really think about it until the project of releasing my rap lyrics, which ironically I have to write all new ones for, but that project is what turned it into a world building just extravaganza. And so everything happens on Thayer now. Everything, all of my stories.
And it is Thayer.
It is Thayer. Yeah,
because
right.
I keep saying Thayer. And
Thayer.
I got to make sure that I'm saying that right. Because that's part of the problem when you read is, am I announcing or pronouncing that right? Because being an announcer and radio, I have to enunciate every word in my head while I read it. Mm-hmm. So I was curious because I was going to ask you about that.
You're good at your job. And it's kind of I wanted to take, at first it was going to be Urta. And I was like, well, that just, it doesn't roll off the tongue properly. And I realized that with Thayer, it sounds like there. And so it just perfect for a planet that mirrors our own and is just kind of an alternate reality to what we experienced. It takes place there or on Thayer. So
this is the first, but it's really the end, which the next two are coming. But people that would like to pick this up, you already said at the 3 bookstores here in Butte, but you have a signing coming up. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so on September 4th, which is next Saturday, I'll be hanging out at How Novel from 1 to 3 p.m. We'll have hard copies for sale. They're paperback books, but we'll have physical copies for sale. Signing, talk, just there to really introduce myself to the community and talk about my book, connect with anybody who's interested. Initially, when I wrote this book, I was under the blanket of like women's fiction, but now as I'm introducing myself more to the community and finding like tons of people excited to look into it, I'm like, well, technically it's just new adult fiction, so anybody can read it, but the main character is a female, as is the case with all of my writing, just because that's my experience. But I'm really excited to be here because I've tried holding 2 other events, both at the corner bookstore on Harrison Avenue, and nobody showed up because I didn't have enough press. And so I'm really just open to at least talk to one person about what I'm doing in the community. But it'll be good, so I'm excited.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, again, could they buy the book online if somebody was looking for it? Where can they go? Do you have a website?
Yes. So my website is really long and convoluted. It's arianwrites.wixsite.com/goddess. So an easier way of finding that is just by Google searching #SelfishSunday, and that's like the £, and then the words selfish and Sunday, all one word. I'm pretty sure it's the first thing that pops up anymore, and you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you want to download the digital copy, I'm pretty sure you can get it on like the Google Play Store and the Apple Book Store and everywhere. Pretty much anywhere you buy a book, you can find it if you just search for Selfish Sunday or
Hashtag Selfish Sunday.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
well, we're out of time,
Yes, we are.
but I thank you for the opportunity to sit down and visit with you. I look forward to finishing this and seeing where you go.
Thank you so much
So-
for having me here today. It means a lot.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and good luck next Saturday again at the novel, How Novel, up and actually just above the remnants of the M&M.
Yes.
So I was just up there the other day. So again, thank you so much. And Naomi Omid, and she's an author with #Selfish Sunday. I wasn't saying the hashtag, by the way, just Selfish Sunday.
It's one of those non-important things. As long as people know it's called Selfish Sunday, that's really the kicker there. So.
Well, check it out. It's, again, available locally. And next week you can see the lady with the gray hair. She'll be there, and she'll be able to visit you. And at the farmer's market.
Yes.
Coming soon. All right, we thank you for coming by. Stick around. Rescue Mission's supposed to be calling in. We'll be checking with them. They've got a fundraiser event going on, and we'll have details. So stay with us on the Party Line.
Shedhorn Sports in Ennis is a lot of things to a lot of people, but one of the things that makes Shedhorn stand head and shoulders above all the rest is firearms. And with firearms sales booming once again, you can count on Shedhorn to have what you're looking for. At Shedhorn, they buy, sell, and they'll even take your trade, too. New items arriving all the time, and if they don't have something in store, just shop their catalog online at shedhorn.com. Yep, best firearms selection in Montana. Shedhorn Sports, downtown Ennis, your firearms leader.
There's always fun in motion at the Big Red Barn. Old-fashioned service, that's what sets us apart. Where you can win and laugh out loud. The hokey pokey is what it's all about. Where neighborhood people have good old-fashioned fun. There's always something here for everyone. Everybody knows the place to go. Crazy Carol's Casino and Mill Bar.
Discover the Continental Gardens and many comforts and conveniences. This is Christine. Your golden years should be a time for enjoying life, not worrying about where you live. The Continental Gardens is a safe, supportive, and vibrant community featuring handicap accessible one-bedroom units. Are you 62 years and older and living on a fixed income? Live the life you love. Let the Continental Gardens take care of the rest. The Continental Gardens, 100 Gardens Way in Butte, 533-0705. Small pets are welcome.
Have you ever purchased or sold a home? How was your experience? Was it stressful or easy to manage? Did the process take a reasonable amount of time? Were all the key players getting the job done? Janelle Morgan with Century 21 Shea Realty hopes all of your real estate transaction experiences have been successful and as easy as possible. Know that when you do business with her, she is all about customer satisfaction. Work with a real estate agent who truly works with you. Janelle Morgan with Century 21 Shea Realty. Call 490-7945. That's 490-7945 in Butte.
Hey, it's the KBOW Party Line 138 on your Wednesday, August 25th. Nice to have you hanging out with us here on the Party Line today. As again, a nice visit with a author with now Butte roots, and seems like enjoying being part of the Butte community. So again, I have to grab the book, Naomi Omid, and the book's #Selfish Sunday. Again, you'll be able to meet her on the 4th of September. She'll be up at How Novel, the new little bookstore uptown on Main Street. All right, the KBOW Party Line. Nice to have you on board here on your Wednesday, August 25th.